folks, among our topics will be George W. Bush. It'll be that Andrew guy who is not in a bar but behind bars. It will be. I'm going to later on rant about pretty much how Epstein and Wexner control the Republicans in my entire state. They're all in bed with Epstein, if you will.
Do you know what I found out yesterday, Julie and Cliff?
What?
I found out that Lex Wexner has never been questioned by the Department of Justice.
Yep.
Ever.
Yes.
That's the country we're living in. Like it's
man.
Don't
it's
you think
crazy.
You guys?
Hey, Cliff, are we live?
We are live.
I know we are.
I believe we are. It
It's so
says it
good
right
to see
there.
you.
We should probably say, hi, everybody. Welcome to Tequila Talk, where we talk about tequila. We explain the brand we're drinking. And tonight, Joe came up with the idea, and it was a good one. In fact, he came up with a tequila that's so bad, I could not find it in the store here. I went to three different.
Pepe Lopez.
Pepe Lopez, Julie. A buddy got it for me 4 years ago. I hadn't opened it until tonight. He said he spent $9 on it because he knew I loved tequila.
Wait, can I tell you? Can I ask you a question? You hadn't opened it until tonight, and it's already like a third empty. Hold up that bottle.
So Julie, I had to really give it a try.
That's how much he hates it. He hates that tequila.
Let me tell you something.
Third empty. Look, not third. That's a half empty.
I let the dogs try it. We all tried it.
But yeah, that's my excuse too. I let the dogs try it.
The dogs are walking into the walls in Joe's place.
So our theme, and it's so good to see Julie, because Cliff, you and I are so fucking sick of looking at each other.
I know you're such a good. I mean, how much you piss me off. You okay? Go ahead.
I'll be concise. We picked a shitty tequila tonight, a cheap tequila, because I just think this is a shitty week and there's so much shitty stuff going on. The rest of the fucking world is holding their leaders in rich and powerful and accountable. We're not. And George W. Bush, it came out this week and it made a subtle swipe at Trump. Screw that. George W. Bush has been silent for this whole Trump era. I'm sick of it.
I think we need to do a shot. I'm going to do this whole thing with Cuervo.
I have to acknowledge something, so I apologize in advance. I was given instructions to go buy your shitty tequila tonight, but I have not left the house today because I've been literally back to back since 8 o'clock this morning. So 5 minutes before the show, I was like, shit. So I ran downstairs to. I don't even drink that much, you guys. But
my God, look what she's got, Cliff.
I ran downstairs. So this is all I could find in my cupboard.
You have Jose too?
I have
Jose Silver because I went in. I'm like, did you have Pepe to them? Like,
that qualifies.
Who the fuck are you talking about? What?
Gold.
Pepe Lopez. That qualifies as lower shelf tequila.
She's got gold. I've got silver. And again, like the woman was looking at me like I was crazy. She's like, Pepe, what?
Just take it.
They had 15 different types of tequila. No Pepe. So here we go. Ready?
I got this. Wait.
George W. Bush growing a fucking spine.
Oh my God, Julie, the whole thing. I love that.
I'm drinking the whole thing because we got to make it last for the rest of the show.
That's
do that Matthew McConaughey thing.
Pepe Lopez. It's an interesting taste. Okay.
Wow. I wish I had that. Instead, I've got a whole bunch of Cuervo in me. This conversation is going to loosen up quickly.
Where do you want to start?
I have to say, very good.
Cuervo, I mean, compared to what you're probably drinking, compared to what I had last week, the 1800, that's good stuff, I think. I don't know.
I only drink tequila because my doctor recommended it 6 years ago to help with my stomach stress. He said it was good for me, Julie, and it's been working. I'm not.
Joe.
How drunk are you now, Joe?
Hey, Lawrence, if you're watching this, can you please get that clip for later? Because you just said that.
I don't drink fancy tequila, $30, $40 a bottle. Not $9 a bottle, but I'm no connoisseur.
The doctor was like, look, I got bad news for you, Joe. You're really, really fucked up. The good news is I'm going to prescribe you some tequila to drink every day. And that's the way you're going to feel better and be less stressed.
Julie Cliff, the true story was this was 2017 when I was turning on Trump publicly, and I literally was having major gut issues because I was going to lose my everything, knowing what I was going to have to do. I used to drink vodka. I went to my doctor, and he said, no, tequila, the agave sugars, it's good for your gut. So from that moment on, it's all I've had.
Oh my God. And we've got someone in here, Jen Pollock, who says, my husband is a certified tequila expert.
Cool.
Jen, can you reach out to us so we can you figure out a way?
Julie.
Shoot us. I'll put an email in there. You can be like, let's chat. With
I
your
want that
husband sometime.
certificate. I've never gotten
Is
that.
your husband certified, tequila expert, or is he a certified tequila?
I'm certified, but
he's just certified and also tequila expert. Or I don't want to insult Jen Pollock's husband, who I'm sure is lovely, though.
Lovely. I'm sure he's lovely.
Of course he is.
Look, can we just swat this out of the way briefly because we got more important stuff to talk about? And Julie, I want to hear your take.
Yes.
Little peons like me, Republicans, lost everything when we stood up against Trump 7-8 years ago. And Adam Kinzinger, my buddy, after Jan 6, when he stood up.
Yeah.
George W. Bush is like still one of the biggest Republican names out there, a former president. And we know what he thinks about Trump. But Julie, he's kept his mouth shut when he could have made a difference more than like Adam or I could have. And he didn't have the guts to do anything. It just fries me.
It pisses me off. And I wrote a whole thing about it, as I know you did as well. And look, here's the deal. Like, why? And here's my theory. You're not going to like it, Joe, because because you were kind of part of this whole cabal.
Yeah.
Back in the day, because I'm drinking now, so I could go loose. But yeah.
Were you a Bilderberger? Oh, sorry.
You're part of the Bilderberger group, and also the Rothschild.
You Rothschild.
The Rothschild. But my whole thing is before, like, George W. Bush laid the groundwork for Trump, right? Because before you had fake news, you had all the whole, like, we're building our own reality. Remember Karl Rove, I think it was Karl Rove, famously said that.
Torture, rendition,
all that shit, right? And so it's not like Donald Trump was like sui generis.
Right.
He kind of built it upon the ruins of what George W. Bush did. Is Bush just scared that people are going to forget? Like right now, Bush is reinventing himself as like America's like nice, crazy uncle, right? Like, haha, there's George.
Hey, look, there's his asshole painting his feet in the
yeah, but it's not even that. Like his daughter's, and his daughter seems like a lovely woman.
Yeah.
But, she's got a long way to being like, oh, look at my dad and look at my crazy dad. And he's so funny. And like now George Bush is the guy that's like rolling his eyes at, stuff at funerals, and he's high-fiving Michelle Obama. And suddenly George Bush has been accepted by people who love him now because in comparison, he seems like this wonderful, great guy. And don't we all miss the days of George Bush?
I think there's a lot of truth to that. I would argue that we Tea Party people helped lead to Trump. I think the Republican establishment did too, because they ignored their base.
What were you, Joe? What did you refer to yourself as, so we can be clear?
Crazy Tea Party Joe Walsh.
No, you said something else about yourself that starts with an A and ends with an
asshole.
Yeah.
We helped lay the groundwork for Trump, along with the establishment, I would add. But argument for another day.
The Democrats did
Julie,
too.
I think and by the way, his brother Jeb hasn't said shit since he walked off the stage. These two know what a threat Trump is. And I think like Jeb's son, W's nephew, wanted to run for office. I just think they want to remain Republicans in good standing, that like they can be relevant when Trump's gone.
That's their all
A
hope.
lot of Republicans are like that, by the way, guys.
I think that's Pence's story too. I just want to say quickly to throw in with all that right before the 2024 election, because you've done this. You said Adam Massey is doing it right now. The number of people that actually have mentioned Trump by name and don't do some obscure reference and stand up to him while they're in office or right after they're out.
Taylor Greene, you got to give her credit.
Right, you do. Speaks to his face and insult him. So I remember saying, like, imagine if right now, instead of them all doing these endorsements in their separate states and whatever, if you had George, Jeb, Mitt Romney, every one of these fellow, like these former, Mike Pence had some fucking courage after he tried to get him killed. Like, have all these people stand up at a press conference of sorts. Dan Quayle, right? Like everybody who had been a presidential or vice presidential, and even former House speakers, Boehner, Ryan.
You mentioned Dan Quayle. I'm going to drink. Sorry.
There you go.
Why am I drinking alone? But I'm.
I think Cliff. I think it would have had
Joe. Drink already. Come on.
I'm drinking Pepe.
Joe's on a second bottle of Pepe by now.
Thank you. I think I think, Cliff, they all would have had to have come out kind of early, and they could have made a difference. And Julie, it's interesting. Like, you raised something I'm going to think about. I didn't think that people thought like the W's of the world led to Trump. I always hear that the Tea Party did, but that's really interesting. I'm going to think about that one.
Hey, remember, you're either with us or against us. Remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
That wasn't the Tea Party. That was Bush back. Listen,
Yeah.
I was around back in 2000. I was in Washington for 9/11.
Cliff, she was 6 years old, by the way,
I was
when
6
she
years
worked.
old.
I know.
In the
She
Senate.
was young, but very precocious for her.
Yes.
Unlike you House members, I actually worked in the much more elitist Senate.
She worked.
I worked for grown-ups, not like you people in the House.
Okay, well, that seems fair.
So I was working in the Senate, and it was 9/11, and apparently the senator I was working for decided that he and I had a mutual murder-suicide pact because, lo and behold, everybody else got to go home, and I had to stay with him on 9/11.
Can you tell us who the senator was at this
Sure,
point?
John Stevens Corzine of New Jersey, great guy. So he and I spent
Governor, too.
Yes, also then became governor. He and I spent 9/11 together, along with the rest of the Senate, in the Capitol Police until the leadership got evacuated. And so you got to sort of see what was happening that day I was one of the very few staffers who was there without any staff, without any reporters, without anybody around. You got to see these guys in their own kind of like state of nature.
Now I'm going to guess you didn't smear poop on the walls like the January 6th guys.
Poop on the walls, and nobody threw ketchup bottles at the walls.
No Camp Auschwitz t-shirts or anything?
No Camp Auschwitz t-shirts. Nobody's wearing a shaman dress. Although Robert Byrd, as we walked into, I'm not kidding, we walk into the Capitol Police, Corzine and I, and this is the first thing we see. We see Robert Byrd sitting here like this, rocking himself back and forth, going, "Yes, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I will feel no."
Oh my God!
Over and over again.
Remember the rule we talked about last week, Joe? 75 and you're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over and over.
God.
And I are looking at each other. We're like, "Holy shit!" But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that you had a Senate. I can't speak to the House. The House was so unruly that they threw them into the other side of the Capitol Police at the time. But that you had a Senate members, both sides of the aisle, who behaved really well that day. Like, nobody was screaming at each other. Nobody was trying to score points at each other. Nobody was trying to be an asshole. Nobody was saying this is George Bush's fault. Like, people understood that there was a threat to our way of life and that we were going to join together to do something about it. And then suddenly, a few weeks later, a month later, a few days later, however long it took, Bush decided that no, in fact, he was going to politicize the shit out of all of this. And we were going to be either you were with him or you were against him. And if you were against him, that means you weren't going to go after Saddam Hussein for reasons that still make no sense to me. 9/11.
And you call Max Cleland, a guy missing limbs, like a
terrorist.
terrorist.
You're going to call Max Cleland a terrorist. You're going to, then ultimately call John Kerry a terrorist, and that he was fake Vietnam, despite the fact that obviously he has shrapnel in his body to prove that that's not true. And then even something stupid like calling French fries freedom fries. Remember that bullshit? Right?
You know who did that? Bob Ney from Ohio ended up in prison. So it seems like that wasn't a good idea.
Not a good idea. So I say all this to say, like, there's a lot that we've forgotten about George Bush that I think is relevant to this discussion.
Well, and that's interesting, Julie, because that buttresses your point that now W is accepted in general society and he's hugging Michelle Obama. So maybe he doesn't want to break that.
Can I make a general point about that? I feel like the GOP was this balance going on. I mean, people forget Nixon's dark side, and then Nixon creates the EPA, right? Like, you guys had,
that's interesting.
Both these sides in you, right? And the more moderate side, I mean, my senator from New York City, Jacob Javits, at that point with all the Southern Democrats, was probably to the left of like 2/3 of the Democratic Party. And so you guys had both of those wings. But what happened is each successive election, I would say, big election, not always presidential, Reagan in 80, because then you bring the people like Pat Buchanan and those fucknuts in there, pardon my whatever. And then you when Gingrich took over, who was the first one who started the voter fraud conspiracy stuff and all of that after motor voter, and we know all the stuff Newt did. After that, he's busy impeaching Bill while he's on, I don't know, wife number 3, wife number 2's in the hospital. He left wife number 1 when she had cancer. I can't remember.
Family values.
My point is each iteration of the Republican Party got worse. And by the time you get to W, you've got this compassionate conservatism, and there was that side to him and his people. And I would argue I didn't agree with some of the stuff he did for various reasons, like one size fits all education, but he did actually want to change some things. He did actually want to pass some programs, but you had that Karl Rove and Dick Cheney, I'm sorry, at the time, dark side that pushed for Iraq and the other stuff.
Agreed.
And after that, I would say you add in a Sarah Palin and some of your Tea Party friends. So it keeps switching from like 50-50, 60-40, 70-30. But Bush was a part of that process. I mean, technically, Job Brownie was him.
But
you know what I mean? Like, that's incompetence in government, right?
Two of my favorite left of center people. I say this as a new Democrat. But you know what pisses me off, though? Like, Reagan isn't Trump, and W isn't Trump, and the Tea Party wasn't Trump.
I wasn't saying that, to be clear.
Well, I know you're not, but it's like sometimes when I get into these conversations with all my new left friends and followers, they say, "Oh, Joe, you guys have always been bad. Reagan and you and they throw us all into bad."
Right.
And if you do that, then just say one of our two major political parties has always been bad. What this is utterly unacceptable. You may have disagreed with Reagan on a lot of things. I would argue Ronald Reagan loved this country, like Barack Obama loved this country, like Joe Biden loved this country.
I agree with that.
I think Julie was just saying that some of the people that these groups brought with them were bad actors and paved the way. Or Julie, speak for yourself.
That's what you're saying.
No, I'm actually saying something even that Joe's going to like less than that. What I'm saying,
cool.
God, I love having Julie.
Yeah, what I'm going to say is
fuck that guy,
some of the tactics.
Yeah.
That Bush used, the whole with us or against us, right? The whole black and white, like you're not a patriot if you don't believe in what I believe in, and so on. All of that, I think, is
Atwater stuff too.
The Atwater stuff actually was before. It was actually before him. It was Atwater.
Yeah.
I got to Fox News in 2004, right when the whole Swift boat thing was going on, and it wasn't enough to say that we disagree on the war. It wasn't enough to say that we disagree on the way the war should be prosecuted. You had to disqualify John Kerry's service.
Remember at the Republican convention, they wore the bandages to mock his Purple Heart, little bandages. Like, see, there are moments like that, Joe.
No, I agree. And again, I've told both of you this individually. Back in my Republican days, when we Republicans would huddle privately, we would laugh because we knew we would do anything and say anything and fight to the death politically. And we knew Democrats would never do that. So Republicans would do a lot of.
So wait, you're saying Hakeem Jeffries wouldn't do that?
Well,
sorry.
You know what? But here's the thing. Like, I actually wrote about this today, and you raised kind of a funny point, but you're absolutely right about this. Like, look at what's happening at CBS right now. Look at what's happening with Warner Brothers Discovery that's going to be acquired probably by the Ellisons, despite the fact that they don't want to be acquired by the Ellisons, because it's been very, very clear that nobody else is going to get regulatory approval except for the Ellisons. And so therefore Paramount Skydance is going to buy CNN.
And Nexstar is about to make a big acquisition too, I believe, of local stations. Yeah. And they have News Nation, which is very conservative. And they also what were they doing at the time? Were they the ones they kicked Kimmel off? That's what they did. Right. And so it's everywhere. So
the point is, and the reason, and I always talk about this, and I hope you guys, if you hadn't read this article, please go and read it. But there's a great article in the Atlantic the other week about an interview with Steve Bannon. And Steve Bannon said,
"Have you showered?"
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, I don't know if he showered, but he had a very maximalist approach to things. And he said, look, we have a maximalist approach. Our whole job here is to move the Overton window way to the right, and nobody's stopping us. Nobody's stopping us. So that when Democrats come to negotiate, they're not going to be negotiating from the left and we're negotiating from the right. We're going to be negotiating from the extreme right, and they're going to be negotiating from the center right, which means we'll meet somewhere in the middle between extreme right and center right. And the reason he's able to do this is because nobody in the Democratic leadership thought to stop them, to have their own maximalist approach. Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and every Democrat in any position gone, but they should be standing on the steps of the Capitol saying the following: if you fucking people think that you are going to suck up to Donald Trump right now with your bullshit 60 Minutes nonsense and whatever's happening at CNN right now with platforming Scott Jennings and so on and so forth. And if you think that the minute we come back into power, and that day will come, that we're not going to do everything in our power to break up your monopolies, to put you out of business, and we will be selective about it in the same way that Trump is selective.
We're coming after you. We're going to regulate the shit out of it. Your taxes are going up. The capital gains.
By the way, can I give Julie some flowers for something? Man, one of my most favorite things to do, Julie, is to take legit shots at Scott Jennings. And
I think we should point out that he wets his pants, and then we should start that on TV. I've heard that. I don't know it's true, but people are saying.
Oh, I've sat next to him on TV. I never bothered looking.
People are saying that Scott Jennings wets his pants on TV.
You wrote a few weeks ago on Jennings was wonderful, brilliant, truth to power, courageous that you said it. He's an actor. He plays a role. He's paid to lie. But Julie, CNN gives him a fucking platform.
Right. And they know he's saying what either, for a while McConnell wanted him to say.
Oh, he used to be
McConnell's. And at this point, it's Trump because McConnell is almost dead. Sorry, but it's kind of true. I mean, he wrote, as I said, he wrote that piece after January 6th. And that's how I knew that McConnell was thinking about, as somebody who worked in PR, and you guys have too, that's how I knew McConnell was thinking about convicting, because Scott was doing his dutiful duty for old Mitch and trying to pave the way. So if Mitch voted to do it, Scott would be defending him in the page in CNN.com, saying how terrible he was. But then when Mitch chickened out for whatever reason, Scott was left there. Scott left there holding the bag, so to speak, and he had to try to justify why he had written that.
Scott Jennings used to be a squishy establishment Republican who hated Tea Party guys like me. Go ahead, Julie.
Of course. Well, I wrote that column and I predicted that I would get banned by CNN for writing it. And lo and behold, I got banned from CNN for writing it. And, my attitude about that is I think CNN needs me and people like us a lot more than we need them, since I think we're probably having more viewers right now watching us.
Between the three of us here, we'll see what the numbers are in the end, but between the sort of subscribership is, I'm sure we overlap. We have some people to overlap, so I don't know what that is. We're close to 1 million. So as far as I'm concerned, CNN can get bent.
Hey, Cliff, before we lose Julie,
we have to switch to Iran.
Before she goes off and does a cultural thing tonight. Yeah. We're about to fucking go to war with Iran. Yes. We do not have a Congress. Julie, scream about this.
Yes. We don't have a Congress screaming about this. I wish I could help you, but we don't have a Congress who's screaming about this. We don't have a Congress that's even paying attention to this. And I thought, because I remember being around last summer, that we had absolutely obliterated Iran's nuclear abilities. I was told by the President of the United States that we didn't have to worry about anything because we were done. I believe the words were utterly and totally destroyed Iran's.
They actually blew Iran into space.
Yes. So why is Bob's big boy, where Iran is currently hurtling into space? Thank you. Why are they suddenly a threat to us? I thought we took care of it all last summer. I was told that by the president. What's going on?
I think it's because Jeffrey Epstein has files, and there's, as Ted Lieu, so I will quote Ted Lieu, said, there are pictures and video in there allegedly of Donald Trump raping underage girls, young girls. Let's just be honest. And that's, Ted Lieu has come everything close to just saying it straight out. That's what it is. So of course, and people need to, kick in what about this, Julie and Joe. But it's bad enough that we would just do it at all and we would kill anyone there and whatever. Again, the leadership there, evil, awful fucking people. It doesn't mean you get involved. We saw what happened in Iraq. Instead of Iraq, which was 30-something million, I think is it 50-something million in 60-something million in Iran? You've got that Shia-Sunni split. Again, Afghanistan with the Taliban is right here next to them. Like, that whole area could just fucking become.
You know what, my Jewish brother? I don't even want to get into that. I say, as a former member of Congress, he does not have the authority to go to war. Stop there. The entire issue stops there. He can't do this. If we have a constitution.
I don't know if we do anymore, though.
Well, I
Maybe
don't know either. But can I ask you about another thing as a former member of Congress?
Huh.
Speaking of Ted Lieu, why is Ted Lieu dancing around this? Can he not go on the floor and use the speech and debate exception to talk about whatever he wants to talk about?
Good question. Joe?
He probably could. And I guess I'd say that it seems like he's building up step by step to possibly something like that.
Well, and at least he is. I would say
I
build
hope,
up soon.
I hope, Julie.
Because we don't want to go to war.
I mean, there's no other way to say it. This whole Epstein thing. Right now, there are serious allegations that Trump is a pedophile, that he raped and abused young girls. There's evidence there that is at least worth looking into.
Oh, yeah.
And I get so pissed off when people criticize Pam Bondi or Kash Patel. I don't care a damn about them. They're only doing what Trump's told them to do. Trump's the one behind this cover up, but they don't criticize him.
What I keep thinking back to is when not Kash Patel, because he's whatever, but Dan Bongino, who is
he has funny eyes.
Yeah, because he's got funny eyes. But Dan Bongino, who's I know back from my Fox days and is truly mentally ill. But I think somewhere in his mentally ill mind, like, I think there's a shred of humanity in there somewhere. I right? And I think Bongino, I know Bongino back in the day, remember when Patel went out there and Bondi went out there and said there's nothing to see here? Bongino was like, what I saw in the Epstein files shook me to my core. And he didn't say much.
No, he was quiet then.
He was quiet. And then he left.
Yeah.
And now Trump is all over it's interesting. Trump is all over his podcast because obviously Trump feels like he's got to keep Bongino happy.
Yeah,
right. But Bongino knows. Like Bongino knows what's in there.
Of course, yeah.
And you got to look at Bongino because Bongino did not say anything. And Bongino looked very shaken as to what he said.
I want to know what Ted Lieu, like from what he said, but also Jamie Raskin has certainly come pretty close to the edge there too in saying it. I mean, honestly, when we're complaining about Democratic, leadership and whenever Democrats who aren't tough enough, that House Judiciary Committee is where all of the awesome ones are. If you're going to pick any leadership,
the fighters.
Yes, with Raskin and Lieu and
Swalwell's on there, I think.
Swalwell's on there. Dan Goldman's on there. Like all the ones that know, it doesn't matter whether they're more to the left, more to the center. They're always the people that know how to fight back. Jared Moskowitz, who know how to mock, hit back. We need from there because we need somebody again. If somebody were out there, as you know, Joe, where you guys used to laugh at us, and they still are. If somebody were out there repeating this constantly, what Ted Lieu said, the news would have to cover it. Right. At some point, even like corporate media, even when something becomes enough of a thing where it becomes a meme, it becomes zeitgeist, it becomes whatever, they end up covering it. We don't do that. We just sort of say it once, feel like, all right, I got my press release out there. Let's move on.
Again, let's be clear. There's not proof yet in the files that we can say Trump did whatever. There are serious allegations that he did, and there's evidence. So a healthy Congress, a healthy Justice Department would investigate.
Right.
Look, Donald Trump put his name and face, on the Justice Department today.
It
just tells you everything you need to know. He literally put it like some fucking Stalinist bullshit. When I grew up in the Soviet Union, you used to have these, big placards, same ones of Lenin, Marx, Lenin, and Engels, and this is exactly the same thing. So
the Justice Department, the Justice Department.
Well, it's to show you who's, daddy's home. It's to show you who's in charge of the Justice Department. It is not the People's Justice Department. It is Donald Trump's Justice Department.
I mean, that attempt to prosecute those 6 Democrats, and I think, of course, they purposely went after them because you go after the national security ones. Because if you end up being successful against them, that really will scare everybody else. And that thing was kicked out so quickly and was such a joke that, thankfully it didn't end up in front of Eileen Cannon or Alito while he's getting a free trip to Rome or whatever. Or otherwise, maybe it would have been different. But
hey, Julie, do you think we'll ever get to the bottom of who did what in those files?
I think it's going to be like the Stasi that are going to be incinerating files on their way out the door. I'm hopeful that there are enough. Look, they had 1,000 people in the Southern District of New York go through these files for every mention of Trump's name. I hope there's one patriot among them who took copies.
Who took copies?
Let me ask you this before you leave, Julie. And
Yes.
I know there's a very kind of a tough, so hedge as much as you want. Do you think we are going to unilaterally bomb Iran over the next, let's call it 72 hours?
I think there's and I'm not trying to hedge here. I think
no, but I want you. What your chances are? You don't have to say yes or no. It's not a game.
50 shot, and the only reason I say it's a 50-50 shot is not because I think Trump has any compunction about doing it. I think he always tacos out a lot. So it's going to be who's in his ear last, and if it's Jared, who's in his ear last, who took $2 billion from Iran's arch nemesis Mohammed bin Salman, and if it's Bibi Netanyahu, who's an old family friend of his, then we'll be bombing Iran. If it is J.D. Vance or somebody like that who says, or Tucker Carlson who says, you know what, we don't need any more regime change wars and let's not do it. No, I think if Ted Lieu gets up tomorrow on the House floor and says, yes, indeed, Donald Trump did rape little girls, then I think we're bombing Iran.
That's actually the best answer.
Like Ted Lieu probably has Ted Lieu or somebody like that probably has the biggest authority over whether we bomb Iran in the next 72 hours or not, depending on what he does in the House floor in the next 72 hours.
Do it, Ted. Do it. You'll be remembered. And I think we need to do a shot to send Julie out. That seems only guys, right to me.
Julie, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. We'll definitely do this more.
We have to. I've got all this tequila. I've got this tequila, which I'm not drinking now. So
no more Philharmonic. Don't, look, be like us. We're just regular guys,
Cliff, she's going to a bar to have a burger and a beer. Enjoy, Julie.
That's what she's doing.
I wish.
She's going to like a Buffalo Wild Wings, and she just
get out of here, Julie. Go have fun.
Buffalo Wild Wings sounds so good right now. I got to go home and feed my home. I am home. I got to go downstairs and feed my husband so we can go
feed your husband.
We could go be snobby at the Philharmonic. So I got to go.
Thanks, Julie.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much for being here, Julie.
Bye. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Cliff.
Oh, okay. Julie's awesome.
You know what I dig about her? We're like her. Like, she says it like it is. She doesn't mince words. She's not afraid to offend anybody. She's just going to say what she believes. I love that.
So, in all seriousness, jokes aside, these are the folks that I search for here because I can't do it anymore. Not that I ever could lie enough because I'm me, but I can't even slightly pretend anymore because, again, any little thing we don't do that we could do, any little thing that Democrats don't do they could do, any little thing that so-called moderate Republicans, I don't think we even finished with the so-called, when you've got George W. Bush, well, what's Lisa Murkowski doing when she was voting against the Epstein files? What the fuck is wrong with these people? Anything we don't do. So what I love is, I'm actually going to start at some point, and maybe we can have you as a guest there. It's going to be more, it's not going to be around tequila, but a show on Mondays I'm going to do regularly with Julie, just to discuss. We're both former, we both have the same career path. We were mainstream center left Democrats 10 years ago and watched as corporate media became such shit, watched as Democrats failed in terms of messaging and leadership. And now we both are just, we don't have any fucks left to give. We'll say what we think and go after who we have to go after. And I don't care. I'm not looking to get a contract from anybody. So
I love that, Cliff.
But you too. That's why I was so interested in doing this kind of stuff with you. Because you're a drunk and you're funny.
But you're not mad that I made you drink some Jose Cuervo tonight. Come on.
And there's more to go. You've got 15 more minutes. You're stuck here with me.
What else is on your mind, big fella?
Well, I'm gonna go at 6:50. When you have to jump. Folks, I'm going to do a 5-minute rant on Ohio politics and how literally every Republican in this state is in bed, and give you a little history. We've had authoritarian one-party rule here with sex scandals and other scandals and everything you can imagine. Two last speakers of the House, Republicans, had their homes or businesses raided by the FBI. And I'm going to let you understand that if you let this become national, on the level it is in Ohio, we don't have democracy here. I'll tell more of it later, but that's what so with you, go ahead. If you want to talk about
I'm going to want to hear that rant after I leave, but I want to just tease people with one question, Mr. Ohio.
Yeah.
It is a red state. You've got a big governor's race and a big Senate race. Don't tell me who you think is going to win. Do you expect these races to be competitive? Can Democrats be competitive this year?
Well, in one of them, I have to say, if Trump doesn't pull an ice surrounding the polls, which of course Steve Bannon has suggested, if they cannot pull off something on that kind of level, I will tell you right now, Sherrod Brown, who only lost by 3 points when Kamala lost by 11 here, will kick John Husted's ass, who, as part of my rant later, I'll remind you, took over $100,000 from Les Wexner. Okay. Sherrod Brown performed so far ahead of the Democratic Party. Now, the other race is more interesting. Absolutely, we can win. David Pepper's in the ticket. I know you know David as Lieutenant Governor. Amy Acton, who handled our COVID response. And she's a charismatic speaker. And if they put up in a state like Ohio that leans red, a nobody. I mean, we're not like a 15-point red state, but yes, we're a 5 to 8 or whatever it is. If they put up like a nobody on the Republican side, I think we'd have a really tough time winning. But they did us this just great service. Vivek Ramaswamy, who is the easiest guy to tie to. Everybody knows who he is. He's infamous, his pump and dump scandals. He's tied to Trump. Like, you can make it a referendum on Ramaswamy and Trumpism. So I think we have a chance. I'm not saying that one. I won't predict and say we're definitely going to win, but I think we're in it. Yes, I do think we're competitive in that one. But I tell you right now, unless they find a way to massively cheat, I would predict right now that Sherrod Brown wins.
But by the way, the other quick thing that pisses me off, you mentioned Steve Bannon. We found out this week in the Epstein files that in 2018, Bannon told Epstein, Trump's got to go. It's time for the 25th Amendment now. That was in 2018. Bannon said that to him privately. And then we found out that in 2019, Bannon pledged to help Epstein repair his pedophilia image.
Right.
Sex trafficking.
He became like a PR consultant.
And this guy puts himself publicly as Mr. MAGA, Mr.
He's
Trump.
populist as hell. Yeah.
So many in that profession.
Aren't they such frauds? I mean, that's what, again, let's go for another one, right? I brought up Newt Gingrich and his affairs earlier when he was going after Bill Clinton. Whatever you think, and I would say arguably, I think Bill Clinton perjured himself. I don't think those questions ever should. So proving, I will be honest, Joe, I don't think those questions ever should have been asked. And I think it was manipulated by leaks by Kavanaugh. And guess who else manipulated it into that situation? Ken Starr, who's all over the Epstein files. No longer with us to suffer, but I mean, that Ken Starr and Brett Kavanaugh were not getting drunk with Squee and PP and the gang, or whoever he's lifting weights with, and Newt Gingrich were leading the charge. These were the moral avatars against Bill Clinton.
Well, when a party preaches that they're the party of family values and they don't live up to it, then there's sheer hypocrisy. They put themselves in that position totally. So way too many of them did.
Absolutely. So we have 10 minutes. I want to know, because you wrote a great piece today, the social contract. Anybody on here, if you don't have a paid subscription to Joe Walsh, I'm going to come by, find you at your house. No, I'm just kidding. All seriousness, Joe has some of the best analysis out there. It's hilarious. So get a paid subscription and support what Joe does, because we need him.
You too. Subscribe. Become a paid subscriber to Cliff.
Yes, please do. Blueamp.co. All of us. We're trying to, that's one of the reasons we're coming together here. But you were a great piece because, and I'm going to write something on this, I'll admit, tomorrow. Because again, we're talking about who I view as predators, and I view them as the larger group. It's not just predators on young women. It's predators on working people's pensions. It's predators on young girls, I should have said, on working people's pensions. It's predators on democracy. And we don't punish any of them. And your piece, what I love is you made sure to go after Prince Andrew, because they're holding people accountable in other countries. But the other thing that some other people forgot to mention, and we remember when this happened, that South Korean president who tried to have the coup. And guess what? Like January 6th said, everybody run to the parliament to try to take over the parliament. just got sentenced to prison for the rest of his life. Are you watching that, Merrick fucking Garland? Are you? Bolsonaro, prison.
Think about that. South Korea's former president momentarily imposed martial law.
Yes.
To try to shut down his political opposition. Horrible thing to do. He was yanked out of office. He was charged. And you're right. He was just convicted to life in prison.
That is how you have a democracy.
Our former president, we have a former president who committed crimes trying to overthrow an American election. And there's been no accountability at all. No prison sentence at all. And you know what we did as a country? We fucking reelected him.
Yeah. We are, look, there's no way to look at what South Korea did and look at what Brazil did, eventually putting Bolsonaro away, and look at these kinds of things and say that we're anything close to what we were even 15 years ago. We are an illiberal democracy. We are not functioning right now. And unless we do, we being all of us, what it takes, and that means if Democrats aren't messaging right, you go after them. If wimpy Republicans like, ooh, Susan Collins, I've got my concern to face on. Look, I'm running for my 47th term to do fucking nothing again.
That was a great ad, by the way. I don't know if you saw it last week. Janet Mills put out an ad, just her repeatedly saying, I'm concerned. I'm
concerned. I mean, these people who call themselves moderates, and when I look back and I say real moderates, Jim Jeffords was a moderate. Mm-hmm. John Chafee was a moderate. There was a wing of the Republican Party I used to respect the hell out of in the 90s and 2000s. They're all gone. The ones who are still there are conservatives who half the time vote a few issues to the left so they can pretend they're moderate and otherwise just bow before Trump. I mean, Tom Tillis is leaving. What the fuck do you have to lose? Why are you voting with him on anything? Like, he's forcing you to leave. He would have threatened you with a primary. That's why when I bring up you and Kinzinger and Massey right now, I'm just like, why do these people lack courage? Why did it take Jeff Flake to be like years out of the Senate before he stood up? He would vote for everything Trump wanted him to do almost when he was there. If these folks stood up and didn't just say, well, there's some authoritarianism around the corner. No, say his name, say what he's doing, say how he's fucking over a country, say how you're going to stop it. Like, come on.
And Cliff, I don't know that you and I have argued this or debated this. I come from the right. I think the right is much more predisposed to embrace a strongman and authoritarian than the left is. The left's got their issues and their problems. But I think American history backs this up. Generally, folks on the right embrace authoritarianism way more than people on the left do. Do you agree with that?
This is going to be fun because here you are arguing against your own side. I'm not going to fully argue against my own side. I'm just going to say in this country overall, yes, because we've always had that strong, especially once the Soviet Union came out, anti-communist streak. So anybody who's got what seems powerful, who puts together too much power on the left, we're immediately scared of, right? So we're less likely to have a Mao or a Stalin than we are to have a Trump, right? But it does exist. I see it on there's certain elements of the far left that are when I say far left, I'm talking about democratic socialist. I'm not even talking about Democratic Party, who are very they're totalitarian.
Well, they can meet. Yeah, they meet. They end up meeting with the far right. Yeah, totally.
Right. We've seen some of them go over, like Tulsi Gabbard. It wasn't that far a trip for her to head to the other side because she'd already become that way on the left, right? You're right. We are more likely, but there have been a few periods in history, like when Huey Long was thinking about running. Yeah. He was going to run, I think, pretty close to socialism or maybe communism. He's going to run well to the left of FDR. So we have it, but you're right. This country, because of our history, we're more prone to it on the right.
And I get asked all the time why I was Tea Party, and I've got to write the fucking book.
Please do.
To me, the Tea Party, I was Tea Party because more than anything, I feared government tyranny. More than anything. And then that's what we have now. So the MAGA became, in my mind.
I wasn't laughing at you, to be clear. I'm laughing at your Tea Party brethren who said that, and now they're pro-Trump.
Yeah. It's like MAGA just ate up the Tea Party movement, and now they embrace a fucking tyrant.
Right. Like how how can you? So the only thing I can compare it to is in the '90s.
Yeah.
When I was doing work with and well into the 2000s, I should say, I was doing work with Bloomberg's group on gun safety. Okay. And it wasn't just about guns, right? It wasn't about just you can have a gun in your house, whatever. We saw these militias on the right, people that were tied into white supremacy, to neo-Nazism. One of them was Timothy McVeigh, and all that. And it was when I first started seeing that there are elements of the right that had been before mainstream. The NRA in the 70s and 80s was very mainstream before it got taken over in what's known as the Cincinnati Revolt in 77 by the Wayne LaPierre types. And they embraced this white nationalist view that even George H.W. Bush resigned from the organization after Oklahoma City because they seemed to almost be mocking that this building had blown up and whatever. And he was like, so it was happening already. But again, much like I said earlier, where there were some people who were more conservative, some more moderate. Like, I do think Reagan was conservative. I do think Reagan at the time was very conservative, but I think he did believe in what he was doing. I do think, even though I think he put us on a terrible economic path, and you and I can debate that sometime if you want, but I think he believed in his country. He was a patriot. And I think in the end, if he saw where the sort of, the rugged individualism that he pushed back against the common good and whatever got to a point where people are refusing vaccines and wanting to own shoulder, mounted missiles, I think Reagan would even be like, this shit's gone too far.
I'll do you better, my brother. Maybe you disagree with me. I think if Reagan were alive during this era, I think there's no fucking way he publicly supports Trump. I think he speaks out against Trump, unlike W. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I know a lot of conservatives who disagree with that. I think he would. I
think absolutely he would be against Trump. And I think he showed more courage than any other Republican I can think of who was president, in that he was not scared to stand up and make those kinds of speeches. The one he made at the Berlin Wall, famously, he wasn't scared of those moments. So yeah, I think Reagan, most likely of any of them, of the ones we've talked about, would be the one most likely to speak out.
Like before
Nixon might just break into his office and steal some good shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to.
No, he deserved that. Like before Trump, Republican or Democrat, did we ever have a president that you looked at and listened to and said, he's un-American, he doesn't like this country? Trump's the first one that I've ever seen like this.
I mean, yeah, I don't, again, you can disagree with all sorts of people along the way who you think did bad things, terrible things. And, and there maybe are some exceptions. There are a bunch of those one-termers in the second half of the 19th century that, were they great? Were they, who knows? But no, nobody that, the only person I can, can think about that was on the level of sort of tyranny of Trump, and not even the level, but maybe approached it, was, Andrew Johnson, obviously after Nixon, after Lincoln, who wouldn't follow through the reforms, and Andrew Jackson. I mean, it was a genocide, the Trail of Tears. And quite clearly there are elements of Andrew Jackson where he was tyrannical, but I can't think of either of those guys that I'm aware of being like, and again, it wasn't as international as a period of time, but I can't think of them being like, I love Russia. Russia's great. Putin's my best friend.
Exactly.
And,
exactly. Hey, partner.
Yes.
I'm going to hop, but dang.
One last drink before you do?
I will drink before I go, but dang, I want to hear, I'm going to put you on my phone after I hop because I want to hear your rant.
It's going to be an angry one.
Love it. Love it when you get angry, mister.
I have to. I'm sitting here. So
hey, thanks everybody for listening on another
Thank you guys
Tequila
for being
Talk.
here. I'm staying. You got 10 more minutes of me drinking tequila.
Fire
and I
away,
will tell you about Wexner and Epstein and everything here. Thank you, Joe. So listen, as I sit here in Ohio, obviously we know that Les Wexner was deposed today. And there actually was a funny scene where there's a video where his lawyer was listening to him like, if you fucking answer anything else in more than 5 words, I'm going to kill you myself or something, which was pretty funny. But Les Wexner in the end has become a node if you will, a central part of this whole story. And the biggest thing about him and the Epstein story, and here I am, I grew up in New York City. I thought, Donald Trump and Epstein and all this stuff. Like I moved to Cincinnati. I'd gotten away from it. Yeah, no. So here's where you need to begin. Okay. There was a scandal, a lot of you are probably aware of it, with a doctor, Richard Strauss. He raped wrestlers at Ohio State. He was a terrible, obviously awful human being on the level of what Epstein is and these other fucking rapists. And there was a guy who was coaching the wrestling team there by the name of Jim Jordan. Maybe you've heard of him. He's the most gerrymandered district in the country, and he looks like Ruprecht from Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Okay, so he and Jim Jordan decided that he didn't notice anything. See no evil, hear no evil. He's blind when anything is going on in the room, apparently, that he doesn't want to know about. A couple of wrestlers came forward, one of whom testified in front of the Ohio State legislature that Jim Jordan had called his brother, his actual brother, they'd both been wrestlers at Ohio State, begging, pleading, this is the way he put it, pleading with him. It was pathetic not to say anything, crying, because Jim Jordan knows he's guilty. And much like Les Wexner was never questioned, we have these wrestlers. We have a coach who coached with Jim Jordan who said he had to have known. They all knew. And we have a referee who experienced it and said he told them. And Jim Jordan has never been asked questions that I'm aware of in any serious way about this. Why do I bring this up? Because Les Wexner, one of the main nodes to Epstein, the only one who let Epstein have power of attorney over his funds. Think about that for a second. He gave him power of attorney, this billionaire. He tried to quash having to show up for a subpoena in the Strauss inquiry into the Strauss the lawsuit that was filed by students. Lost my head for a second. A little bit of tequila. I apologize. These students filed a lawsuit. Those who were raped, those who were family members and others, to go after Ohio State because Ohio State knew and they didn't do anything. All right, about this guy. Well, guess what? Wexner now was unable to quash it, so he needs to testify about this. So we may have two pedophilia scandals literally in Ohio connected to each other. What did Wexner know about what was going on with Strauss? What did, at the time, Jim Jordan actually was in the state legislature after that and knew about what had happened there, and the Epstein stuff was going on. Well, there's another person involved in this, John Husted, who's running. He's been just about every other position in this state. He was Secretary of State, suppressed the vote. He was Speaker of the House when he illegally took from lobbyists Alamo tickets, Alamo Bowl tickets to fly on down, because who doesn't just take what they want from lobbyists? He is a scumbag, and it turns out accepted over $100,000. Let's try that again. Over $100,000 from Les Wexner, the rapist, the child rapist. Okay. Good. So what do we have then happen, with Wexner? Well, Wexner's name is all over Ohio State University. All right. He's given to every Republican in this state. They are all tainted by it. Every Republican has taken money from him. Houston's taken over $100,000. And Sherrod Brown took, let me see, I need to do the math. $0 from him. Because when you kind of know somebody's a pedophile and you suspect it, even, you don't take money. He took money. Houston as recently as 2025. So, and we all knew this by then. This is a state where in 2010, they got together and they gerrymandered everything. And I'm sure some of you live in states like that, so that they couldn't get voted out of office. We then had the first energy scandal, the biggest energy scandal, the biggest bribery scandal of any sort, where numerous people were numerous Republicans, for the most part, bribed. There were a few Democrats who got caught, kind of like in the Epstein thing, but the mass majority of these people were always Republicans. Two former state house speakers had their offices or homes raided, who were Republicans. It is everywhere here. They had a charter school scandal here. They let them come in. They got all sorts of campaign contributions, accepted awards from them. These guys didn't, one of them or a few of them got caught spending money they're supposed to be spending on charter schools, on doing things like going to strip clubs, because they're great people. So we wasted taxpayer money on that. That's what happens. It's this authoritarian, it's the predatory mindset. They're predators. They are predators on kids' schooling. They'll steal funds from it. They're predators when it comes to young girls. They're predators when it comes to destroying unions. They're predators when it comes to their private equity vulture capitalism, where they come in and they destroy your business and they steal your pension and load you up with debt. Again, same mentality. Every one of these Republicans tied in by accepting money, $100,000, John Husted from Les Wexner, who now may be tied into, beyond just Epstein, the scandal at Ohio State. Former president of Ohio State, who's president of like 18 universities and seems to have been kicked out of every single one for some sort of untoward activity. Seriously, look up Gordon Gee. He was at West Virginia. He was at Ohio State. He was at Vanderbilt. Every time he left, it was under the cloud of scandal. He just came out and said, oh, it's cancel culture for Les Wexner. He did so much good. I'd like to hear him say that if his daughter were raped at 12. I don't give a shit what he did. I don't care how much money he gave. Would you, if you went to Ohio State, want his name on the building? No. So this is a centralized part of all of this. These two Strauss and Epstein scandals may actually be connected, right? Predators, I feel like, as I've said before, if my cats saw each other in the wild, they would notice each other. It's almost like predators. They can spot each other, form little bands together, right? Herds, if you will. And it is across this state. It is beyond Houston. It is all the Republicans, I will say again. And now we're looking at where Wexner finally, who's never been asked a question by the FBI before, we got Democrats in the House, we got the Strauss trial, and we have a number of these things going on. But I mean, if you just want to know the most ridiculous thing besides Husted and his 100,000, you may remember the other day when Pam Bondi went in and she's like, and did her whole little routine. Well, I mean, you didn't ask me nicely. And I thought, she was trying to kind of, I don't know if she's trying to be Colonel Jessup there, but just really sucks at it. But she's like, well, I've got your browsing history here. How dare you call me a criminal, as she's illegally sitting there with their browsing history. Well, you know who chaired that Judiciary Committee? Jim fucking Jordan. That's right. Jim Jordan, the guy who 6 different folks say knew what was going on with Richard Strauss and maybe even tied into bigger scandal in terms of Epstein, as this is all tied together. We don't know. In the end, this is the guy who gets to chair that committee. If you don't think everything is utterly ridiculous. Again, these Republicans in this state are the same ones who said, oh, you don't have to do a ballot measure on ungerrymandering. We'll take care of that. And then they ignored the Supreme Court, again, like Donald Trump does. You're seeing this stuff happen nationally. Again, it's an authoritarian mindset. You don't care. You'll destroy government. You'll prey on that. You'll destroy farmers. You'll prey on them. You'll prey on cattle ranchers. Trump's doing all this stuff right now, destroying people's livelihoods, destroying humans. You'll prey on little children, 2-year-olds, 5-year-olds, because they're Latino or Latina, and send them to El Salvador, to CICOT, to be tortured. This is what we're dealing with. And it connects everything to Ohio. We should sweep these people out of office. We should make sure Sherrod Brown beats Houston. We should win the governorship. By the way, Vivek Ramaswamy running for governor here, also, of course, tied to Trump. And one of the biggest private equity guys, who he and his wife, I think his name was Dumler. Let's go with Dumler. Two of the private equity people that were Epstein clients, Dumler gave $100,000 to who? Vivek Ramaswamy when he ran for president. They are all tied to Epstein. We should be able to win this state and other states. I'm sure this will come out in other states. They may not all have a Les Wexner, but there are plenty of large figures like this. These people are predators. These people are attached or friendly with or hung out with pedophiles, and they will prey on anything and everything. They are billionaires. They are beyond the scope of having any empathy or us being able to apply any accountability to them. That needs to change. We can't be thinking sort of, let's try to get back to democracy we had. We need new institutions. We need to destroy the Republican Party in the upcoming election, which means we need to make sure there's a fair election, and we need to be talking about that, but we need to destroy them. Get these predators out of government. The same mentality it says I should go in and destroy a business and bankrupt a bunch of people is the same mentality it says I should take advantage of little girls because they have no empathy for anybody. It's about power. They are sadistic. They enjoy the torture. And that's what's key. And Ohio is a key part of this now. But you're going to see it obviously in other states around the country. You've seen plenty of it in New York, and there are numerous of these billionaires around the country. We should be naming them constantly. We should be talking about this constantly. Democratic leaders, message about this constantly. It shouldn't just be Jamie Raskin and Ted Lieu and Jasmine Crockett and AOC. And, I mean, come on. Let's get our shit together, show people who these are, have an FDR election, and take back our country from the predators. With that, I have a little tequila left. No. That's all I've got for tonight. It's 7:01. I think I've gone past my allotted time, if you will. Thank you for watching. Joe and I will be back next Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Joe and I also will be, he's going to be speaking, and I will be at the Counter SOTU in DC that Miles Taylor put together, and Tara McGowan and others with a lot of big name folks. Hey, De Niro is going to be speaking there. I can't wait to see what he has to say, and others. So Joe and I'll be there. We'll be live streaming from there. So think about watching us Tuesday night. And next Thursday, we will definitely be doing Tequila Talk. And folks, I believe that's all I've got. I have to say, I think my famous phrase, but often I have to find where the hell I click out first so there's not this big, awkward silence. I'll just say, as the sun sets slowly in the west, my friends, I bid you a fond farewell. Have a great night.